This is a quick video of me restringing my Ibanez Jem7vwh, and I'm doing this because a chap called Positive Phantom, that's his YouTube name, commented on one of my other videos asking me to do one of these videos showing how to restring a guitar with a Floyd Rose style bridge. So that's what I'll do. I'll go slower and explain things as I go along, but start by taking the nuts off the top of the locking nuts on the guitar. But the video that I did initially that kind of made this one happen was that I was saying about playing in tune, and that you should have your bridge set up properly so that you can sound like you're in tune when you're playing a Floyd Rose, because there are problems with intonation and stuff that people often don't address because they don't know how to do it, which is fine. So I will run through that today. So a couple of ground rules for restringing a Floyd Rose. Thou shalt not take off all the strings at once, otherwise you'll have loads of work to do. One of my strings is broken, as you can see, so that's why I thought it was a good opportunity to change the strings. So change one string at a time. So take off the E string first because it's broken. I'm using Ernie Ball Super Slinkies, my favourite. So the reason you don't take them off at the same time is because your bridge loses all its tension. So, oh, I forgot to put this on. Forgot to mention this. I like having a little cloth which I put underneath the bridge so that any stray string mischief doesn't scratch the body. I'm a bit anal about that kind of stuff. So yeah, you don't take all the strings off at once because the bridge loses all its tension on the string side, and then you need to re-level it again the moment it's at the right place, and nobody wants to do that every single time that they are restringing. So I usually give it a few turns on the headstock first, just to keep it kind of tight. Hold it there, keep a bit of tension on it, a couple of turns. The smallest strings are the most awkward to do if you're doing this method, but I haven't really tried any other methods, so this is the only way I do it. So I usually snip over the fine tuners, usually leaves about the right length. And obviously, because I'm just getting myself a bit more comfortable, let's let that one go. Because the string snapped, I forgot to slacken off where the string is held like a fool. I won't get it in if it's not slack, will I? So yeah, slacken that off. Retrieve the string that you just let go of, and get that as centrally as you can into the block. Keeps it neat. Might affect tuning stability, I don't know. If it's all wiggly coming out of there, probably don't, but looks stupid anyway if it's not central. Oop, bit of old string in there from where it snapped off. Get rid of that, make sure I don't leave it on my carpet so I stand on it. Lol. Right, bang that in there. Keep some tension on that so it doesn't go flying out of the headstock. I like to keep the bar on the bridge when I'm doing this because it means I have a bit of leverage, especially on these. This is the original Edge bridge, and it's like a Floyd Rose where the screws that hold the blocks, that push the block into the string to hold it in place, are underneath the bridge. So it's handy to keep your bar in so you can push the nose down a little bit so you can get in there, whereas on the Low Pro, Ibanez Low Pro edges, the blocks are actually above the fine tuner, so you don't need to do that. But that is one of the benefits of the Low Pro, a bit more ergonomic for restringing, but I still prefer the original Edge. It has a better pull-up range, which is one of the main things. I don't really know why It has a better pull-up range because it's not, the Low Pro doesn't have a lower pull-up range because the tail hits the body sooner. It usually frets out before then, but it seems one of my J Customs has got less pull-up range before it frets out, even with a very high action. Got a higher action on the J Custom than on this, but the pull-up range on this is better. So it's one I've never worked out. Maybe somebody can tell me in the comment section. So I tried to get him somewhat like close-ish. Obviously don't get your tuner out yet, but 5th fret on the B string, E, and then match it. Just somewhere like, so that the bridge is as level as it was before. So yeah, that's one string. So unscrew, loosen the bridge side, thread it through, hold it, give it a few turns, snip it over the fine tuners, place it in the block, tighten it up, nip it up with your, this is an Ibanez tool that I'm using, I didn't mention that, like a little Ibanez penknife device. So I get the right Allen key and nip that one up and get it somewhat like, so it's kind of in tune compared to the rest, and then rinse and repeat that for each individual string. And when I said about taking all the strings off, obviously there are some times that you would want to do that, you know, if you want to take all the strings off to do a full setup and get the bridge how you want it, which I'll quickly I'll show you that now if you don't know what I'm on about. So the Floyd Rose style bridges work, you know, it's a floating tremolo, so the bridge unit is held in place between the tension of the strings and the springs in the back of the guitar. And in order to get it level, you need to make sure, well, your aim is that the bridge is at the level that you want it, which is generally close to perfectly level, unless you want extra dive range or extra pull-up range or whatever. So you want it at the level that you want it while the guitar is in tune, and that's a little bit harder than it sounds, which is not the reason people don't like setting these up. But the full restring, when you get used to it, doesn't take that long. I mean, hour tops. Quicker than that when you get used to it. It used to take me like an hour and a half, 2 hours when I didn't really know what I was doing. Needed some more practice. So hopefully you can see. There we go. So in the back there, yeah, you've got your springs. They're held into place by this piece of metal here that's screwed into the bridge block, and then the springs hook onto this plate here, which is screwed into the body, which I wasn't holding close enough. That plate there, which is screwed into the body. So those screws, if you screw them in, the springs pull the bridge into the back, if you like. So it's like it pulls the tail down, if you imagine that. So if I get the bar, the bridge does that. If you screw the springs in, the bridge comes that way, which means that the tail goes down, the strings get closer to the fretboard, and obviously the other way, if you unscrew the screws, the bridge nosedives and the strings get further away from the fretboard. So it's about making sure that you're not in tune and your bridge is like here. You don't want your bridge there forever, and equally you don't want it here forever. You want it somewhere level, and the way to do it is to get the strings somewhere like in tune, get the bridge somewhere like level, but each of these will throw each other out. This is why it's awkward. So every time you alter the bridge position, obviously the bridge moves, and then all the strings either get too flat or too sharp to where you need them to be in tune. So then you need to retune the strings, but then when you retune the strings, the bridge moves because you've changed the tension of the springs, so the bridge isn't level to how you wanted it before. So it's like you need to keep doing one and the other to approximate getting closer and closer to where you want to be until you are where you want to be. So it can take a few tries, a little bit of trial and error, but you will kind of get the knack of it and start doing little tricks like overcompensating one for the other, like leaving your strings flat so that you can adjust your bridge, and you know that how much you'll adjust it, the strings will have sharpened and they'll be about in tune and your bridge will be level, kind of thing. So your own approximations will be helpful with that, just as you practice. So yeah, that's the bridge and what I said about taking the strings off. And the other reason you might want to take all the strings off is to give it a clean, sort out your fretboard. But I actually still don't take all the strings off then. I just try to avoid taking the strings off at all costs, because it's just a pain setting it up from the start again. Restringing this way, I won't have to change the bridge at all. All I have to do is restring and then check my intonation at the end. But I slacken all the strings and then push the bar down, and these all go super floppy, and then I can give the fretboard a nice clean, and then when I'm done I just tune back up and the bridge is back where I left it, bang on. So that's what I would recommend that you do. So I'll finish restringing this. You've already seen me do one string, so I won't bore you with me doing all of them. So we'll just skip to me showing you after I finish the restring and intonation and stuff like that. Actually, before I do go on to intonation, I'll quickly just show you the restringing of one string from start to finish. Since the first one was snapped, I'll just quickly run through the stages that I told you and show you how kind of quick and easy it is. So slacken off the string, undo it, the bridge side, take it out and be careful not to scratch your headstock. Unthread it from the headstock end. Yeah, some people get pretty scared about the idea of restringing one of these, but quite straightforward really. Get your string, work that end in. I bend it round a bit as well so it hooks on. So I bend it round the peg. Hold it at this end for a bit of tension. Tighten it up. And as you tighten it up, you can put a bit more tension on just to make sure it's not going to unravel itself at that end, because that's a pain when it does that. I mean, you've got a couple of turns on it and it's, you know, it's kind of stable, it's unlikely to go anywhere. Get your snips, snip over the fine tuners. Whip that in there on the bridge side. Try and get it central. I kind of hold the string so that it's not going to pop out of there, and push down the bridge so that I can get in with the, because obviously I'm not just using an Allen key. It wouldn't be a problem if I was just using an Allen key, but because I'm using this thing, I don't want to hit the body with the bulk of it, so I have to push the bridge down a little bit with the bar, but that's not a problem. I'm used to doing it now. I can't be bothered to use an Allen key that I'll just lose, stick in one of my drawers in my bedroom and never find again. I'll just use the Ibanez tool thing. It's pretty good anyway, that. Get one of them with any, I don't know if you get it with any guitar from Ibanez or just Prestige guitars, but I've had one with every Prestige and J Custom I've ever bought, so I've got a fair few of them now. So tighten up the string and then tune it up something like, and the bridge will be at the same level as when you started. Easy peasy. Right, we'll move on to intonation now. Alright, so keeping one of these things in tune is one of the main problems people say they have with them, but if you set them up properly, you won't have any problems with them. And it's not that hard to set them up properly. Obviously, when you're playing, there are things that you can do as well to keep it in tune. Don't put loads of weight, or even any weight if you can help it, on the bridge, because you can hear it going sharp. So when you palm mute and stuff, try not to put much weight on the bridge to make it go sharp and flat. But in terms of the setup, what you can do to make it in tune is to check your intonation, which a lot of people, again, they don't like doing on these bridges because there's a little more to it than just a fixed bridge. But I've got my tune plugged in, so check on the 12th fret harmonic, so chime the note. This is on the G string. Let's turn the volume up. So make sure it's in tune first of all, which it's not. Right, so that's bang on now. So you check the chimed note against the fretted note, and the fretted note there is a tiny bit sharp, as you can probably hear. So if the note is too sharp, you want to slightly lengthen the string for your intonation to make it right. So what I mean by that is you slacken your string so it's all flappy, and then you get your little Ibanez tool, get the right sized Allen key for the task, for the saddle at the bottom of the guitar here, up in the one. So unscrew the saddle, make sure that's as loose as you can get it, otherwise the saddle will just ping forwards and you won't have any control over it. So if it's sharp, you want to lengthen the string like I said, so you want to push the saddle further slightly towards the bridge of the guitar. So I've done that, and it's only a tiny change. I've moved it ever so slightly. Obviously if it was the other way around, if the string is too flat, you undo the saddle and push it slightly towards the headstock of the guitar, because if it's too flat you want to slightly shorten the string. So obviously don't over tighten anything, but you want to make sure that it's staying in place. Tune back up and see where you are, see if you are improved, closer in tune. So the point of intonation, the point of doing this, is that you want your guitar, wherever you play, to be as close to in tune all over the fretboard as possible. Obviously the guitar is never going to be perfectly in tune because it's not a true temperament instrument, but you want to get it as close as possible, and if your intonation's right, then it should sound in tune everywhere you play. Right, so chime it again. Make sure that's bang on in the middle for your comparison. There we go. So chime it and then fret it. And that's bang on now. Both of them are exactly the same. So it was just that tiny, hair's movement towards the bridge on the saddle which rectified that, and that would have annoyed the listener. You may think it's a minor change, but when you're playing and you've played a little melody or whatever, and you've finished a note on the G string, which is the one we've just intonated, and you hold that note and it's slightly too sharp because all your fretted notes on that string are slightly too sharp because your intonation's wrong, it will grate on you. You will notice it. So make sure your intonation's right, and you'll really be glad that you did it, because all your playing will sound more in tune. So it's worth checking. It only takes 10 minutes to check that it's alright, and if you have to adjust add a few minutes on to do a full intonation on every string. It only takes about 20 minutes, and that's if you're not racing. So I hope this was helpful, little restring vid. So it's pretty straightforward with the Floyd Rose. I've shown you kind of how it works, what the system is with the tension between the strings and the springs. So you want to make sure it's in tune, you want to make sure it's level, one for wherever you like your hand to be. Like I always play like that. It's always the same height on all my guitars because I like holding it like that, and also for dive range and pull-up range. You want it to be in tune, you want it to be intonated, and then when you're finished, obviously get your locking nuts, put them back in, tighten them up, and you're good to go. And when you have put a new set of strings on, always stretch the strings before you start playing, because otherwise you will annoy yourself as the strings go out of tune quickly, and you'll probably blame the bridge and go, oh, stupid Floyd Rose, oh, my strings are going out of tune all the time. And it's not that, it's not the bridge's fault. Put new strings on, they need a little bit of time to stretch, to settle in. So when you've got your new strings on, give them a good stretch. Just bend evenly across the strings as well, so bend every fret a reasonable amount. Give them all a bit of jip. You can see I do that, bending both ways on every fret. Obviously your E string and G string have got the most elasticity, so you can bend them pretty much. You bend the G string pretty much to the top and bottom of the fretboard, and the E needs a good stretch as well, but don't go too mad with your small E, otherwise you'll just snap it. So, but make sure that they're all bedded in, and then tune up, and you will have made sure that all your fine tuners, as they are here, are somewhat central, so that you're not going to run out of room up or down when you're fine tuning. So you make sure all your fine tuners are kind of centered, reset at the middle. When you're tuning up with your locking nuts off, so you tune up after your strings are bedded in, tune up on the headstock, lock down, check again, fine tune to make sure everything's spot on, your intonation's right, and then you'll sound great, and you won't need to change it. You probably won't go out of tune again for definitely days, possibly weeks. I very rarely have to tune these guitars once they're set up properly, and whenever you do, it is simply a case of a little tweak on the fine tuner here and there. If you've gone a bit wild on the whammy bar or whatever, sometimes you might need to give it a little bit of a fine tune, but even then, like I say, you can go as wild as you want on this, and it will 100% stay in tune with the proper setup. And the only time you're going to need to take the locking nuts off again after this setup has been done is obviously when you come to restring it next time, but in between those times, if your fine tuner is screwed all the way in, for example, because you've needed to sharpen the string a lot if you've gone out of tune, and then you need to take the locking nut off, reset the fine tuner and retune on the headstock and then lock it down again. But as I say, you're not going to go that far out of tune. I mean, I nearly never do that. The only time that that's going to happen is with a proper setup, is if you neglected to stretch the strings properly when you restrung it. Then it might go, you might need to do a lot of tightening because the string is going to stretch, it's going to slacken while you're playing, and you'll just keep screwing in the fine tuner, and then you'll need to do what I just said. But if it's all set up properly and the strings are stretched before you start playing, none of that will be necessary. So I hope this video was helpful, and if you've got any questions, feel free to hit me up.